Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy,
And I'm Diva
and this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder.
and Liz.
And this is part two of people murdered over video games. And the one that I chose, I thought was going to be like really meaty and like amazing because it involves a TikTok star, and it's super not. So I
Mm,
apologize ahead of time for having a very short case. I
it's okay.
tried to find more information, and I was kind of already invested. So I was just like, all right, I guess this is what I'm doing. So
We will forgive you, Cindy. It's okay.
thank you. I want to
Having a
give
short case one week.
another shout out to Be Nice. The guy is awesome, and their products look really fucking cool, and they're sending them to me, and I'm going to use them, and I'll tell you guys about them. I'll link to their website, but like support small businesses and don't go to Bath
Yeah.
and Body Works. Go to Be Nice.
Oh no,
It's
absolutely not. Also,
BEE
Bath and
too,
Body
so it's like,
Works, BEE. If
yeah.
there's
What about
bees
them?
in the branding, you know that's great.
Yeah, agreed. Wait, what
I
about
also say
them?
Bath and Body Works. Bath and Body Works tortures animals. So just so you
Yeah,
know.
fuck
Um,
them. That's
I used to work in the
horrific.
body shop in college, and that was like my favorite fact to like ruin people's day with. They would come in with their Bath and Body Works bags, and I'd be like, "Guess what?"
Guess
Yeah.
what they do to bunnies? We don't want to know
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you see like the finished product wasn't tested on animals, that's a scam. That
Yeah.
means all the individual fucking parts were, dude.
Yep, all the individual parts were injected into bunny eyeballs, but then the finished product they
Yeah,
figured was probably fine. Mhm.
yeah,
That's fucked
yeah.
up,
The body
dude.
shop, the body shop is good and does not do that. So
Oh, that's nice. Good to know.
yeah,
Neither does Be Nice. I can say that for sure. So,
very good.
pretty cool. Anyway, all right, part 2. Anything else we want to talk about?
Mm,
Earlier I felt like there was so much true crime news and like
There is. We need to do a Patreon little special or something and just
we
talk about
should.
it. Like we really don't even like need to prepare at all because there's so much we could just record and start talking. So
We just start talking and it would be like an hour long. Yeah. I do
yeah,
have another
yeah.
Patreon coming out again. Sorry guys, I was really fucking sick for a couple of days, like just couldn't get out of bed. My head was like killing me. I still don't feel great, but like better. So I'm sorry that we're a little bit behind. I absolutely was like, we're recording the Patreon today, and then it didn't happen. So
Things
anyway,
happen. Yeah.
it happens, man. I have a weak immune system. Blame my parents. Uh my mom didn't take enough vitamins when she was pregnant.
Mm,
Anyway, all right. Should we do it? Should we do it?
yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
What's your short case?
My super short case is the murder of TikTok star Rory Teasley. And now,
Oh,
obviously,
Rory.
that was why I clicked on it and was like, I want to know. There's not that many people named Rory,
Hmm.
especially not that many men, and he's a man. And he's also black, which I found really interesting because I've never met another black person named Rory. It feels like a very
Hmm.
like white Irish. My Rory is a
Yeah.
white Irish man, you know? Or
Right.
like
Yeah.
that fucking show with the chick named Rory that I always thought was stupid, but everybody loves it. I'm probably gonna get hate for that. What was that show? With the
I do not know.
mother and daughter. Oh my god, I
Oh,
need to fucking
Gilmore
guess.
Girls.
Gilmore Girls, yeah. Rory Gilmore.
No.
My Rory fucking hates anytime a woman is named Rory because he's like, that's a man's
Yeah.
name. But I'm like, bro, get over
I
it.
will say your Rory could not be more different from Rory Gilmore.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very true.
It's not possible to be more
No,
different. Yeah.
no. Well, this Rory was Rory Teasley Jr. He was born in March of 1993 in Detroit, Michigan, and I think Detroit. And he grew up in Pontiac and graduated from Pontiac High School. And he lived his whole life, from what I can tell, in Michigan, and was always wanting to be like a comedian. He was a really like funny guy, really engaging, really very friendly. People really liked him. He's super cute guy. He's also gay. So, and I think he was out for like a pretty long time. In his younger, like early 20s, he was like pretty buff. I think he was really into like bodybuilding, but his main thing was like being a YouTuber and like, an online personality
Mhm.
and like a comedian. So he got his start in 2008 when he started releasing videos on YouTube. And he did something called Give You the Business Hip Roll Dance Killin'. That was like his first video. So it's him like dancing,
Oh,
right?
gotcha.
His most popular video on YouTube came in 2010, and it was his best Nicki Minaj impersonation ever. And apparently that was pretty popular. But he didn't have like a ton of followers on YouTube. He had a good amount on Instagram when that kind of became a bigger thing in like 2012. Um, he
Mhm.
started to get a little bit more following, but then TikTok came around. And this is
Yes.
where he really blew up. And at the time of his death, he had 222,000 followers.
Not
So
bad.
not bad. Not bad. And he was like kind of putting himself out there as a comedian, but he also was teaching twerking. He actually
Okay.
his TikTok handle, and it actually became his handle for everything, was to pump for TV. His TikTok was to pump for TV because maybe somebody else already had it. So it was like TOO and then the number
Mhm.
two pump, the number four TV. And he did a twerk out class in Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like $10 a person. So he was really into that. Um, and I guess as he became more popular, like TikTok obviously is like the place for dance videos. And so he would twerk
Yes.
on TikTok and get a bunch of followers. Then he started doing like comedy and kind of bringing in more elements of his life.
I
So,
mean, education and twerking, that's important pedagogical content. Like, that needs to be out there for people.
oh, for sure. And you can tell
It's
by this
important.
man's booty that he was probably a great twerker. Like, I
Yeah.
really,
He's
he,
practicing his craft.
yeah, he called himself an international twerk instructor, and like, I buy it 100%. So,
Sure.
So
Yeah.
he had 11,000 followers on YouTube, 66 a little over 66,000 on Instagram. And like I said, he had 222,000 on TikTok. So Rory was really private. I don't have a lot of information about his life, but I do know that he had a boyfriend of 10 years. So from the time he was like 18
Hmm.
until he was 28. And
Okay.
this man's name was Daquan Jovo Watkins. And now I'm taking liberties with the pronunciation of his name. Pronunciation? Anyway, because it's now I'm tired. I apologize. Docquen.
Okay.
Daquan, I think. Jovo Watkins.
Sounds right.
Okay. Yeah. So Rory was 28, Daquan was 31 when this all goes down, and they lived together in Pontiac. Now, Rory started kind of he like grew out his beard on TikTok,
Mhm.
and then he started like bleaching a piece of it so it was like orange. So it wasn't like bleached all the way, but he had like an orange patch. This was kind of like his thing. So the two of these men lived together. That's kind of all the information that I have about his life or anything that went on in it. I don't know about his family. I don't know where the two of these men met, but I do know that
Yeah.
they had been together for 10 years and were living together. And
Okay.
on top of everything else, uh, Rory and Daquan liked playing video games. And one of the
Okay.
video games that they really enjoyed playing was called Overwatch. Now, Overwatch was released in, I believe, 2016 by Blizzard Entertainment, and it's a multiplayer first person shooter game. So I think you play in teams of 2 to 6 people, and you're all heroes. You each get to be a hero. And you all have unique abilities with like whatever hero. And you work together as a team to you know, like complete objectives. And
Mhm.
like I said, it's first person shooter, so there's definitely like violence and shooting and whatever, but it's like it's also has more to do with like the perspective. I don't know who here is very old. But if you're very old like me, it reminds me of the 007, like the James Bond game that
Mm,
I don't even remember what
that is an old person
is a
reference for
really
sure.
old person reference.
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, yes.
Yeah.
What video game console was that? It
PlayStation,
was it
I
was the
think.
original
Yeah.
PlayStation. Yeah.
Mhm.
You guys probably didn't even know there was an actual PlayStation that didn't have a number after it. It was just PlayStation.
It's
That's
true.
all it was.
That's true. I had one. Yeah.
Dude, it was such a good game. So it was a game like that, and This game at the time was like revolutionary because you could split it into 4 screens and 4 people could be playing at once, which was pretty amazing.
Mhm.
But anyway, many games came after this, including Overwatch, which is, I don't know that much about it. So these guys apparently like to play games together. They like to, play Overwatch, whatever. So
Kinda looks like you're
now,
being superheroes almost. It's giving me, like, Avenger vibes.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing is they call them heroes, and it's kind of like it looks like cartoony, like very cartoony, like
Yeah, like
intentionally,
cartoon Avengers.
like almost like anime
Mhm.
adjacent, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what like console they were playing on or whatever, but basically just getting to the main event, and then I'm pretty well done. On January 7th, 2021, like in the middle of the night, Daquan calls 911 and he says, "My boyfriend and I got in a fight over a video game and he's asleep on the couch and I'd like you to come check on him." So
Mm.
so police come. He's asleep on the couch. Okay, that's what he says. Police
Okay.
come to their house and they do find Rory on the couch, laying down, eyes closed, and they go over to him and he is not breathing and he is not
Oh my
responsive.
god.
They
Okay.
rush him to the hospital and he is declared dead on arrival. He was already gone. They
Okay.
obviously attempted to revive him, but it was not worth it.
Not happening.
Not happening. So now they're like, okay, Daquan, like he was asleep, huh? Like what the fuck happened? I
Mhm.
don't really know what Daquan said. I do know that he ended up pleading no contest later, but police found that Rory had been strangled to death, which is
Wow.
not a thing that you do, even if it's s- like heat of
It
the moment, ragey, angry.
it still
At
takes a few minutes, right?
like
Like
7 usually. So for it to
mhm.
take that long, I feel like there would be plenty
Yeah.
of time for him to like come to his senses and like change his mind. And
And
he
also
never did.
Rory looks like he's a pretty large dude, so that's, like, quite a physical task, you know?
Yeah, he was 5'10", almost he was like 180 pounds. And his
Yeah.
his boyfriend is smaller than him, for sure.
Yeah.
And I know this
Wow.
because they would post videos together and like do
Right.
dances and stuff together. So it's pretty fucked up. So anyway, that's basically the story. Um
So what happened with the video game? They argued over the video game, and that's what prompted this?
yeah, they got in a fight while playing the video game
Wow.
together and it got so violent that Daquan choked his boyfriend of 10 years to death on their couch in their living room. And
You
like,
wonder if there was any, like, domestic issues, like, or physicality between them like that before then, because that seems, like, insane to just start like, you've never laid hands on your partner and then you just strangle them? Like, that seems,
right.
like, really insane.
It's weird, but there's no, so not only is there no like information about that, but there doesn't seem
Okay.
that there was like a lot of other physical damage done to either man, which is like the
Yeah.
weirdest part.
It's not much of a fight
Yeah.
physically.
It doesn't seem like they got in a fight. It seems
Right.
I mean, I'm completely guessing at this point, but it could have been the type of thing where it started off kind of funny, like Rory thought it was
Mhm.
funny and Daquan was actually pissed. So he like already had him in the position where he was
Right.
choking him and then just kept going. You know what I mean? Like because it's like
Yeah.
he didn't have anything on his body, and Rory didn't like Daquan
Interesting.
didn't and Rory didn't seem to either. I mean, I don't fucking know, but really, really, really weird. So he goes to, he is on trial, he goes to court, and he pleads no contest to second degree murder, which I think makes sense because
Yeah.
obviously it was heat
Yeah.
of the moment.
And we
And
have no
he's
evidence that it was first, really, so
no, no. And he's given 15 years to life for this.
okay.
And he's also, so I do believe that they're probably going to let him out eventually because
Yeah.
to they were sure to give him credit for time already served that was like almost 500
Mm,
days. So
okay.
I do think that he'll get out eventually, um
Yeah.
which I find really kind of scary because if you're that angry that you can murder your boyfriend of 10 years with your bare hands over a video game, like that's really scary to me. Like, I'm never usually one to never usually is not a thing. I'm not usually 60% of the time, it works every time. Uh, I'm not usually one to be like, "He should probably stay in prison," but that kind of snappening, as we like to call it, really, like,
Yeah, the
freaks me
snapping.
out. That is a big
Yeah.
snappening.
Well,
So,
the lack of information about their, like, background as a couple is what makes it
yeah.
scary, which,
Yes.
like I said, maybe there was a history of domestic problems, but, like, it was never reported or something, but, like,
Right, right.
I don't know, the totally out of the blueness what makes it frightening. Not that a chronic domestic abuser is, like, chiller to be out in the world, but there is something really scary if you can go from 0 to 100 like that.
Yeah, like, I feel like we're searching for an explanation or, like, a
Yeah,
rationale almost, even though I don't know
yeah.
that we would ever find one or
Like,
that it would make
I'm
us feel
picturing
better.
I'm picturing them, like, verbally arguing, and then he just goes, "Boom," and just strangles him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm kinda picturing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's fucking weird though, right? Like,
It's
I don't
really
know.
weird.
That's strange. So, anyway, that's my very short story. I tried to beef it up as
Okay.
much as I could, but the thing about it is, like, he didn't share personal information. It was truly, like,
Right.
only his persona. So, there it is.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
well, at least we have one thing in common, in our cases, though, which is a game from Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh, no way.
Um,
All right.
because I will be touching on WoW, in this a couple different times,
Oh,
so
right. I remember you're talking about World of Warcraft. If
yes.
anybody doesn't know, WoW is World of Warcraft, which
World of Warcraft, yeah, and it's not a huge part of the case, but it is crucial when it does come up,
okay.
and I crucial but small. And I
Gotcha.
also got called dibs on this because I played World of Warcraft for a very long time. My mom still currently plays. My brother does. It's very close to home. It's a very good game.
You know what's really funny?
So,
Again, here I am aging myself. Hi, everybody. I'm 40. I played Warcraft, like the very original, like
oh,
8-bit
the prequel.
little
Wow,
grunts, like building fortresses and fighting each other. And when they die, it just becomes like a red
wow,
blood splat.
coming
Yeah,
in hot with another old person reference.
I'm
Yeah.
so old. Anyway, so I've never played
Uh,
World of Warcraft, but Warcraft as like a franchise, if that's what you would call it, like has a very big place in my heart because it's one of the few video games that like I wasted hours of my life playing, with
it's
no
awesome.
regrets, with no regrets. So,
No,
all right.
absolutely.
Anyway,
All
continue.
right.
Sorry.
So into this case, it is the case of Kimberly Proctor. This is also an exceptionally horrifying case with, like, I don't know. I'm just going to put up like a broad strokes trigger warning for everything right now.
Okay. Thank you.
This this happened in Langford, British Columbia. So we're going to BC, Canada,
Okay.
in 2010. We're going to talk first about two boys, 16-year-old Cruz with a K,
Mm,
Wellwood, and Cindy already doesn't like him.
I'm like, mm,
Cruz Wellwood and 17-year-old Cameron Moffat.
okay.
They were both, I'm going to call them quasi goth teens. I don't want to give them the full goth distinction, but they're definitely trying for that. Like
They have
they're
hints of
going
God.
for a they're going more for like a 90s Columbine aesthetic, I would say,
Oh, I don't like that. That's a bad
in
take
their
on
vibe.
goth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not a cool goth.
No.
They were, um okay, so I'm just gonna get a Cruz first.
Okay.
They Cruz's father was in prison on a sentence of life without parole, and because he raped and murdered a 16-year-old First Nations girl.
Wow. What the
So
fuck?
that's quite a family background. Mhm. Yeah.
That's not putting you out putting you on a good foot, you know?
Nope, 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 nope. Quite a role model there.
Wow.
So Cruz is very troubled. His dad's in prison. He got into at first lighter teenage trouble, like stealing and smoking weed. But
Mhm.
eventually, he got things got more and more serious with him. He physically assaulted his mother. He set arsons casually, just setting fires.
That's good. That's
Um,
always a good thing.
yeah, Cameron, or Cam, had also a really troubled background. He struggled with mental illness in his young life, particularly around because, like, I guess he was sexually abused early in life,
Mhm.
and clearly never dealt with that in any way. He was also diagnosed with ADHD. He struggled with not wanting to take his meds, not wanting to receive counseling, so he's very resistant to any kind of help. People try to get him.
Right.
He threatens other kids. He's violent. He lashes out, and he also engages in self-harming. Um,
Ooh, so just really
so
bad.
these two boys are like a bouquet of bad vibes, and
Yeah.
they are longtime childhood friends. They've always been friends, but in adolescence they get really, really close,
Mhm.
and they connect on like a troubled teen to troubled teen level. Like only you understand me, my brother.
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
from They do
Ugh.
everything together. Their favorite hobbies include smoking weed, playing World of Warcraft, as a aforementioned online multiplayer role playing game, special
Mhm.
thing you call it. Lots and lots and lots of chatting on apparently MSN Messenger, which sounds very dated.
Oh my god.
Um, Lots of chatting.
That's
Um,
funny.
they often skip class to do all these various delinquent type things.
Mhm.
Um, but as I'll talk about later on, their activities get even more like dark and sinister. It's like
Of course.
starts with weed and Warcraft, and it gets much worse than that because that alone would be fine.
Right.
Um,
That's all great. That's all they
yeah,
sound like regular kids, like
yeah,
teens,
that
like
wouldn't be so bad.
completely. Yeah.
All right. So now, flipping to Kim here for a second. Kimberly Proctor, who goes by Kim,
Mhm.
was 18 at this time. She loved animals. I really wanted to note this that she was a cat crazy person like me, to the
Aw.
point where she wore like Halloween cat ears to school, like being a cat, and I really loved that detail.
Aw. So she's a cute little gother too.
Yes,
Okay.
quirky little goth girl. Almost kind of emo goth girl vibes, but very, very relatable to me in my adolescence.
Mhm.
um, she was frequently bullied and struggled also because she had ADD. But she was coming around and like had, mild teenage rebellion, but was nowhere near where Cam and Cruz were at.
She was
Um,
like a good
she,
kid, she just had some
yeah,
stuff. Okay.
she had a healthy amount of rebellion.
Right.
She was looking forward to graduating high school, and she had plans to volunteer at a wild animal rehabilitation center, which, like, oh,
Aw.
gives you a
Yeah.
sense of like she's not that goth. She's cute and cuddly.
I mean, you can be goth and love animals and be, like, sweet. You totally can.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So she was unfortunately a classmate of Cruz and Cam's, who hung out in the same general friend group, kind of an
Okay.
extended group of loosely rebellious folks, I think. So Kim briefly dated another boy in the group named Zach, for a few months. Brief but intense relationship, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that
And
sounds right for high school.
yeah, after they break up, Cam kind of flirts with her for a minute, but nothing really happens.
Mhm.
But she does hit it off with Cruz and kind of briefly have a thing with him, but it's not like a full thing.
Okay.
Um, while Kim is, like I said, on a kind of regular level, of a healthy level of rebellious teen,
Mhm.
similar to what I was doing at her age,
Right.
she is not aware of how dark things are getting with Cruz and Cam, who are at this time getting into rape fantasies and
Mm.
sadistic porn sites,
No, no,
which
no.
I tried to rephrase that because I was like, okay, well, I don't know if this is sadism in a consensual staged way or if they're watching actual exploitation of women. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
who knows what they're watching, but it's not good.
No,
Um,
no, it doesn't sound good
uh,
at all.
and yeah, they're also into drinking blood and other bodily fluids, which I'd really like to know what the other ones are.
Yeah,
It's only
I
so
ooh,
only so many, right?
yeah, that's disgusting to even, like,
It's
think about.
gross.
Like,
Yes.
ew.
Yeah.
You're
Uh,
teens?
making
I don't
some
know.
making some unholy milkshakes there. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
dude! It's fucked up.
Um, so there's a billion pages of records of their texts with Kim that are part of this case, and
Mhm,
they alternate between kind of awkward teenage attempts at flirting,
mhm.
and like sexy talk, which are very cringy, but then they kind of also veer into like violent and threatening. And oftentimes Kim is like, okay, like you can tell she's not like
She's not
stoked, but she's also
loving
kind of
it.
she's not loving it, but she's also kind of dismissive of like you weirdo, she's not taking it serious.
Mhm,
Or she'll do
mm.
the classic like text. It's like dot dot dot, kind of to be like, what?
Right,
uh,
right.
okay.
Uh,
So at some point, Cruz texts Kim to tell her he wants to meet up and talk about some things related to the quote unquote Zach fiasco. There's some drama which I didn't bother to totally sort out around her
mhm.
breakup with Zach.
Okay.
Um, At some point, some other kind of drama goes down between the trio because she expresses surprise at hearing from Cruz, and Cruz says she deserves an explanation, quote, about why Cam and me and everyone else was so mean. So I think people were kind of bullying her around this breakup, and then Cruz is like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, come back, be my friend," right?
I don't like that.
So he calls Kim to make plans to meet up the following morning, and he secretly conference calls in Cam, who listens silently, and they are
Mm.
quietly chatting on the MSN as they're
While they're
talking
talking
to
to
her on the
her. Oh,
phone.
that's so creepy.
So here we are. Cruz types, quote, this is the mid phone call chat, quote, "I'm going to rip her nose ring out and burn it." And then in all caps, "burn her flesh."
Jesus Christ! This is what he's actually
Cam,
saying.
yeah.
God
Cam
damn.
replies, "Why," spelled with just the letter Y, "why not keep her bound and alive?" So
Like torture?
this is the kind of stuff they're chatting about
Oh
as
my god.
talking to her on the phone. So that's just
Uh-uh.
to give you a preview
Yeah, that's
of
great.
what's to come. So around 10:30 a.m. on the morning of March 18th, Kim takes the bus to meet up with Cruz and Cam. Um, when they're together, they walk down the street to what I believe was an abandoned house. I saw abandoned house, but then another thing I watched was like it's
Mhm.
Cruz's house. Let's say it's Cruz's house because I think that's more correct, actually.
Okay.
Um, so they walk down the street together. At some point, they're at Cruz's house, and as the two had planned, Cruz uses the code phrase, "I think I'm going to make some KD," which is apparently Canadian speak for Kraft mac and cheese.
KD?
Um,
Oh, who knew? I didn't know that.
and yeah, well, it doesn't matter in the end. It's just code. There's no
It's
mac
just
and cheese
bullshit.
involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
on this cue, the two boys brutally attack Kim and warning this is really bad and it's going to
Mhm.
actually take you by surprise how bad it is.
Okay.
They beat her severely. They
Mhm.
bind her and they stuff a sock in her mouth and cover it with duct tape.
Oh god. That is terrifying. You could choke to death right there.
They then spend several hours torturing, raping, and beating her.
What the fuck?
And she eventually dies, as you just said, from suffocation from the duct tape.
Oh my
Slowly.
god. She's
Yep.
just slowly deprived of air
Yes.
while they're doing this.
Yeah.
God damn.
After she died, they mutilated her body with a knife and they also stuffed trash into her
Body.
parts. Yes, into her body. They then stuffed her body into a large freezer in Cruz's garage.
What the fuck? Why?
Yeah. They also, by the way, after that, they both went to like the movies. They went about their day. Cruz met up with a girl. They both had like just went on with their day.
Ah,
Um,
dude.
Cruz then texted Kim to try and set up an alibi, while Cam texted an ex girlfriend trying to get her to come over, probably to be victim number two. So that
Jesus,
was also
yeah.
on the table. He was also like trying to do that.
Trying to get, yeah.
Um,
It sounds like it
mhm.
very much. God
So the
damn,
following
dude.
morning, oh yeah, this gets even worse. It's almost like I forgot that I wrote this last night. Mm. It gets even worse. The following morning, they take Kim's body out of the freezer, put it in a large hockey bag,
Oh
and
my god.
take it on the bus to a local hiking trail. They then
Mhm.
go under a bridge where they then lit her body in the bag on fire.
What the fuck? Like, they just
Yeah,
can't stop, like, disrespecting her. They're
yeah.
God, no, like, just
Mm,
no respect or
no,
regard
it's
at all.
grotesque.
It's
It's grotesque.
fucked.
Um,
Ugh.
yeah. So meanwhile, of course, by this time, Kim's family has been freaking out. They reported her missing and they began searching for her along with the police. But the search ends fairly quickly because later that night, her burned body is found under the bridge. And obviously, it takes a minute for that to be identified because she is severely burned.
Right.
Um, the murder investigation officially begins, of course, once it's discovered that that's Kim. And her murder is huge news in this pretty small town. And Cruz and Cam would have been like surrounded by it, right? And totally immersed in people who were
Right.
upset and grieving. Yeah.
Right.
So the boys acted very suspicious, and really how they act and the things they say afterwards are like going to gross you out even more. So get ready.
Oh, great. I
um,
love that.
so when a close friend of Kim's overheard Cruz talking about her at school and asked kind of disrespectfully, she asked him to stop, saying she was my best friend, like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And Cruz yelled at her, quote, "No one fucking cares. She's dead. Who gives a shit?"
Wow. What a fucking asshole. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So the boys are brought in for questioning. Obviously, there's like evidence. People know that she was going to go see them. Um,
well, the
they
way that
continue to
they're
say more.
acting, it's like they're acting like they've never met her. And it's like, dude, you guys hung out. Like, you're doing too much here.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
ridiculous.
So they're clearly questioned. They say even more dumb, incriminating shit at this
Of
event.
course.
They say they did see her on the morning of the murder, but then she left and went to school. So they essentially put themselves there, which is
Hmm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Um, a
Keep going, guys.
when a cop asks Cruz what kind of person would commit a crime like this, he says, quote, "Someone who thinks it's worth it to kill someone or someone who's in a fit of rage," which is like a weird way to go with that answer.
Yeah. Like, also, like, he's been like thinking about this? It feels like had an
Yeah.
answer ready, kind of.
Also, you can watch a great deal of his interview in on YouTube and in various shows, and Cruz is smiling the entire interview.
Ugh.
Like, and the type of smile where he cannot help it. Like, when you've had like a really good day and you're just like fucking buzzed on adrenaline if something really good happened to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's like that. He's like, it's a genuine smile. It's not like a manic nervous laugh. Like he is
Uh-uh.
so happy to be
Mm-mm.
talking about this. Um
That right there is like red flag. Like huge fucking red
yeah.
flag.
Yeah, he's smiling the whole time.
Ugh.
Um, like he can't even act like he's like worried or sad. He's like, "This is great." Um, Pretty quickly in the investigation, the two boys act suspicious enough that a judge allows the police to monitor their online activities. Gets like an
Mhm.
online monitoring search warrant,
Okay.
and which is going to be very fruitful. 5 days after the murder, Cruz actually confessed to his online girlfriend, which I guess he had on the side here,
Ew.
over the chat feature of World of Warcraft, because of course you can chat with other players. Um,
Oh.
he specifically tells her to talk to him there because he believes the chats were never archived. Spoiler alert, they are. So
Just in case you guys weren't sure, they
you
are.
can't confess to a murder on WoW. Yeah,
Weird,
they
weird.
will know. They
Weird,
will save
weird.
that. Yeah. So later on, headlines will actually say, quote, "Experts say WoW played role in brutal rape and murder of teen," which no, it
Clearly
did
is
not.
not the situation.
Um, yeah, clearly from what I described in the beginning, these boys have a whole litany of other issues that go way beyond just. It's not like a video game. It's not like they were like these upstanding boys, and then all of a sudden they played WoW one time. You know what I mean? It's not like that. They had so
Yeah,
much other
no.
stuff going on.
Right, right,
And I
absolutely.
also want to say that like World of Warcraft is like a delightful fantasy game with like gnomes and trolls and pixie fairy dust shit. It is so far from what I was talking about in part one with Grand Theft Auto. It's not even funny. Like
Right,
it's
it's like a polar
very
opposite.
PG.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah,
PG. It's very chill.
right.
So they got some generic experts in the CBS article that I just titled, who I think would say this about any video game, basically generic lines saying like, "Well, the game could have had an influence," and they're like, "A
Right.
sometimes violent game played at the." Like, I was so annoyed by this article. Like, no, no,
Like,
no,
it's
no, no,
not
no.
sometimes
Like, wow,
violent. There's nothing about it violence. Like, no.
I mean, it is, but it's like so fantasy based that it's really not violence.
Right, 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 right.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to suggest WoW contributed to anyone murdering anyone.
Anybody.
However,
Yeah.
I will say the danger of WoW and why I would probably not let my teenager, if and when I have one, why I would not let my teenager play it is because it is horrifically addicting and it will not lead you to murder, but it will lead you to never leave your basement.
Right, right.
So
And that's the thing, is like it can fuck up your life. Video games can fuck up your life.
different ways.
Yeah, you don't have to actually end up murdering somebody for video games to be like
No,
obviously bad for you.
but you will end up with like a 7-Eleven like thing of snacks and you're just rotting away in your chair. Like that will happen to you.
There was a kid that
Um,
died because he didn't sleep because all he did was play video games and he fucking just straight
and
up
I
died.
when I was researching this, I also did find a horrible case of parents so addicted to WoW that they neglected their kids, and the kids were taken away from them. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, so that is the danger of WoW, but not violence,
yeah.
just neglect. Your neglect of yourself and others.
Right. It's so
Um,
scary to think about that. So
it's a really
addicting.
good game. It's such a
Yeah.
good game. Okay.
Oh,
Anyway, so here's the quote from the WoW chat. His online girlfriend says, "What about her family and her friends and all those whose lives you have ruined?" His online girlfriend says. Cam says, "Quote, no, I don't feel bad for them."
wait, Cam was
So,
the one? I thought it was Cruz.
oh, sorry. Oh no, you're right. It is Cruz. Never mind. It
Okay.
is Cruz.
It's Cruz. Okay.
Uh, yeah, Cruz said, "No, I don't feel bad for them." So
That's
it's awesome.
nice.
On MSN chat, Cam and Cruz also talk about the murder and the investigation extensively, which the police are able to record.
Right.
Cam writes to Cruz, quote, "Since we killed that bitch and it wasn't too hard, we should do it again."
Jesus Christ, dude. Fuck this guy. What a fucking monster.
After the boys' online activity was further surveilled and their computers and phones were forensically analyzed, investigators actually pulled together, not exaggerating, over 1 billion pages worth of content, messenger chats, and computer
Wow.
searches. So these are permanently online boys. Um,
Wow.
yeah. And it's a mountain of incriminating evidence. So, with
Mhm.
all of that in hand, on June 18th, Cruz and Cam were arrested and charged with first-degree murder and indignity to human remains, which, like, yeah, I would say that was pretty fucking undignified.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So, interestingly, after being evaluated by official court psychologists, the two boys were officially diagnosed as psychopaths
Whoa.
and sexual sadists. Um, and in a very bold statement for Canada, they were declared to have virtually zero chance of being rehabilitated in any way.
Wow. I feel like Canada
Which
really doesn't say things like that, but this feels very
no,
much like a fair time for that.
no, it's true. And everything I saw, read about these boys kind of was like tracks with psychopath and tracks with
Yeah.
this statement. But then when I watched the interviews, I was like so terrified. I'm like, oh my
It's like
god, like the
way
way that they're
obvious.
yeah, the way they're talking, the way that they're smiling about it is like you can tell this does not bother them in the fucking slightest that they did this.
And they're still like
Like
reliving it and like enjoying it.
mhm,
Which
they're
is crazy
delighted
that
by
the
it.
two of these guys are like that same kind of fucked up and like found each other, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
pretty
Yeah.
weird.
It's like Junior Ted Bundy best friends that found each other.
Ugh,
It's
that's
really
so
crazy.
fucking fucked up.
Yeah. So they do try to lay blame on one another briefly, feebly, as so often happens, but they end
Right.
up pleading guilty. And in another surprising move for Canada, they were given life sentences with no parole for at least 10 years, which, given that they were
Wow.
juniors, is a lot for Canada.
Yeah, it is.
A life sentence.
Yeah.
They don't give those out lightly in Canada in
Mhm.
general.
No, especially
Um,
not to young
unlike
people.
unlike us. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Um, and keeps going. One more thing here. As a testament to how evil these now young men in their 20s are, in 2019, they got a formal psychological reevaluation
Mhm.
because I believe it was coming up on the 10-year anniversary, right,
Right.
of them being incarcerated. And so the psychologist said, okay, let's give you another shot here, and said there was absolutely no change, and they
Wow.
strongly recommended against any kind of day parole because Canada gives like little day leaves and stuff,
Mhm.
day trips,
Yeah.
and they said do not fucking do that. They will commit a
Wow.
crime.
Wow, a violent one, sounds like.
Yeah.
Very
Yep.
scary
Uh,
fucking people.
yes. And in 2022, Cruz was denied day parole for the second time. And
Wow.
at that time, the judge said basically, like, your risk of reoffending is still extremely high. The psychologist and every professional involved is like, absolutely never
All
fucking
saying the
let these
same
people
thing.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's wild because again, this is a system that's much more inclined to let, especially young people, get rehabilitated
Mhm.
and eventually get out, and like wants to give them that chance. It seems
Mhm.
like, and
Yeah.
they're like, nope, we're psychos,
Not for
we're Ted
you.
Bundy.
Yeah, not for them
No.
because 'cause they're too fucking crazy.
So yeah, apparently they haven't expressed clearly any remorse or getting it at all. Which, if they're true psychopaths, they really wouldn't.
Yeah, no.
Um,
No.
So lastly, Kim's parents gave a statement that was pretty wild. That was kind of like after the first sentencing, I believe, that was like, fuck these fucking assholes. Essentially, that was the gist of it. And they said,
Right.
although it's not an option in Canada, we wish they could get the death penalty. That's what they
I
said.
mean, I feel that. I feel that.
I mean, if that was done to your daughter, you'd probably be
And that's
inhabiting that vibe.
yeah, and that's the thing as I think about is I'm like, I am really anti-death penalty, but I cannot say that if something happened to like a family member of mine similar to this,
Right.
that I
Right.
wouldn't completely change my mind. And I just
Yeah.
gotta keep it real and say like that's absolutely a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah. It is hard to fault folks like that for feeling that way, for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't fault them like at all.
No, no, it's
You
really
know.
hard. It's hard to not want the blood and vengeance
Yeah,
factor, you know?
I get it.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Man. Well, that's that horrible case, and those kids are very scary.
yes, they are. I'm glad
Um,
that they are in prison. I'm sorry what happened to get them there, but I'm glad
yeah.
they're not.
And Warcraft did not that is what made me find this. Warcraft did not contribute to the murders, however, it did get them caught. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I like the way you played this one. Well played. What are we doing
Yeah.
next week?
So we haven't even talked about it. I haven't even told you, but
I know.
I had thought of something that I wanted to do for a long time, and I thought I would just spring it on you. And if you
Do it.
hate it, you can cut this out and record,
Nah, man, I'm stuck. I'm
recover it
doing it.
later.
Whatever it is, I'm doing it.
All right. I wanted to do a list that's inspired by one of my number one favorite Oxygen shows, called "Buried in the Backyard."
Oh, so people who are buried in the
So
backyard?
people buried in their
Oh, I
yard.
love that.
Yeah,
I love lists that allow for like a wide range of cases. I always
yeah.
enjoy that.
So
That could
many
be
people are
anybody.
buried in their in yards.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
So many
excited for
people.
this one. It's going to be interesting seeing the various
Also,
cases.
just a shout out to that show. It's so good. And they always begin with like kind of like body cam footage, oftentimes of like
Hmm.
the police going into the yard and like seeing the dirt askew. Sometimes there's like firsthand footage of like, oh no, what's in this yard?
Of like the moment of realization or like,
Yeah,
oof. All right.
everyone's yard has a body pretty much. So,
I know. I think about that. I'm always like, am I going to find like bones if I dig too deep? And then I don't dig
hmm
too deep. So, but something did die under my house recently. And I was like, am I being one of those people who there's a dead body under my house and I'm just not calling the police because I convinced myself it's an animal? Like, am I that person right now? But it went away really quickly. So I think it really was just an animal.
no,
Anyway. All right. That sounds great. Let's do it. That's exciting. Good topic. Anything else to talk about before we go? No.
I don't know.
All right. Well, guys,
Okay,
I'll probably
yeah,
get this up a little later because I'm just behind in life right now. But it will come out, and when it does, I'll link to that amazing Be Nice stuff. And can't
yeah,
wait to get my little package. All right, guys. So, uh, okay. So I guess that's it, right? Anything else?
yeah.
All right.
No, that's
Thanks.
it. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
everybody. Sorry, my kid just came in and started whispering at me as though it's not going to be picked up on the recording. So I'll probably edit that out. But anyway, all right.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back soon. And until then,
Stay.
au revoir.
Bye.
Stay awesome.